For many, many years, lots of paintings done by master painters simply appeared to be what they were. After all, no one was standing over these artists as they painted their masterpieces, watching their every move. Some paintings really are what they seem, and there's nothing special about them aside from their obvious creation. However, as technology progressed and more study was done on art creations, some startling evidence came to light. Many famous painters hid secret messages and even painted over previous creations. Check out these 5 secret messages hidden in famous art. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam. Michelangelo Buonarroti was a Renaissance artist who painted the creation of Adam as part of a series of biblical frescoes on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. One of the hallmarks of the Renaissance was that artists working during the period sought out increasingly lifelike portrayals of the human body, so many of these artists were also anatomists. Michelangelo was no exception. He began dissecting corpses when he was still a teenager in order to understand how people were put together. The biblical scene of the creation of Adam shows God's hand, which is outstretched to Adam, possibly to deliver the spark of life. But in 1990, an American physician, Dr. Frank Meshberger, floated an alternative explanation that the spark God passed to Adam in this painting wasn't just life, but also intellect. After all, Michelangelo had written in his sonnets that he thought intellect was a divine gift, and there was a brain right there in the painting. God is, in fact, sitting on top of it. If you look closely at the creation of Adam, a fissure in the shape of a crescent along that axe wound that mirrors the crescent formed in the painting by God's arm as it wraps around Eve. Even blood vessels show up. The green sash trailing from the brain looks like one of the arteries that connects to the neck of the brain. However, some interpret these findings as a confirmation of many atheists' beliefs that God originates in the brain of man, that he is a creation of the mind. A new study by Johns Hopkins researchers published in the May 2010 issue of the Scientific Journal of Neurosurgery claims to have found further evidence of hidden anatomical diagrams of the brain amongst the paintings in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel. Now, some interpretations seem a little far-fetched. After all, this is only speculation, and Michelangelo's true meaning for his painting died along with him. However, Michelangelo's anatomical explorations of corpses do support the theories. Number 4. Mona Lisa's Secret. Leonardo da Vinci's 16th century famous portrait of Lisa Gherardini titled Mona Lisa is one of the most discussed works of art ever, partly thanks to the subject's ambiguous look. There are a whole bunch of hidden mysteries, secret messages, and ongoing rumors surrounding the portrait, even 500 years after it was painted. Critics and historians are still arguing about everything from Lisa's identity to whether it was actually a much larger picture that got cut down for some reason. The most accepted theory as to Mona Lisa's identity is that she was the wife of a Florentine gentleman named Lisa del Giocondo. The basic theory is that the crossed arms across the belly and the slight tummy suggest that she was with child, and historically, del Giocondo was indeed pregnant with her second child when the painting was done. In 2006, a group of Canadian scientists used laser and infrared scans to produce a 3D image of the painting. Apparently, these scans showed evidence of a fine veil or guarnello around Mona Lisa's shoulders, an item of clothing often worn by women of the Italian Renaissance when they were expecting or had just given birth. The Lisa del Giocondo theory might be the most accepted, but there are plenty of other ideas about the identity of the Mona Lisa. Some suggest that it was Leonardo da Vinci's mother, others that she was a mix of female and male models, and some even reckon that it's a gender-swapped self-portrait of the man himself. Other theories tell us that Mona Lisa may have been a prostitute due to her lack of facial hair. According to the history books, the only women in 16th century Italy who would be so hairless of the face, no eyebrows, lashes, was a prostitute. The other piece of historical evidence people point to is that the hair she does have on her head is worn in the fashion of prostitutes at the time. Members of Italy's National Committee for Cultural Heritage decided that there may actually have been some hidden codes concealed within the Mona Lisa. In the arch of the bridge in the background, the number 72 can be seen. Or it might be an L and the number 2. Whatever, we don't know what all these letters and numbers mean, but they're definitely there, and they're definitely mysterious. Number 3. The Ambassadors by Hans Holbein. Long before wearing 3D glasses, Renaissance painters figured out how to get their audiences to look at pieces from new angles by playing with perspective. One of the most famous examples of this technique is Hans Holbein the Younger's, this is his full name, double portrait The Ambassadors, which possesses a history as rich as the many details hidden within its brushstrokes. This picture memorializes two wealthy, educated, and powerful young men. On the left is Jean de Dintville, aged 29, French ambassador to England in 1533. To the right stands his friend, Georges de Selve, aged 25, Bishop of Le Var, who acted on several occasions as ambassador to the Emperor, the Venetian Republic, and the Holy See. Dintville commissioned the piece to immortalize himself and his friend. Following the tradition of such portraits, Holbein presented them in finery and furs and surrounded the duo with symbols of knowledge like books, globes, and musical instruments. However, the thoughtful painter also included symbols that pointed to the troubles these men faced. This entire painting has a very realistic look to it until you notice the blob in the bottom middle between the two men. Apparently, the blob is actually a skull that's been distorted. If you look at the painting from the right, it turns into a human skull. Some believe that the skull is a reference to the Latin phrase memento mori, which means remember you shall die. Memento mori was allegedly the motto of the man who commissioned the painting, Jean de Dintville. In the upper left corner, behind the lush green curtain, you'll find Jesus in an iconic pose. Some art historians believe this divine cameo is tied to the memento mori skull and that it alludes to a place past mortality. It's a symbol meant to suggest that there is more than death, meaning an afterlife through Christ. Others believe the hidden icon represents the division of the church that Henry VIII was inflicting on his countrymen. Look closely at the dagger held by Dintville and you'll spot a 29 on its ornate scabbard. Similarly, the book under Selve's elbow has 25 written on its side. These props were also employed as symbols of their character. The book signifies Selve's contemplative nature, while the dagger declares Dintville as a man of action. In addition to marveling at Holbein's eye for detail, art historians praise the work's ability to make it seem like the viewer could step right into the canvas. But there's an added layer of meaning, as this famous floor is meant to represent the macrocosm. By extension, it places these men in the grander scheme of the universe as a whole. Number 2. Madonna with Saint Giovannino by Domenico Ghirlandaio. There's one painter in the Lozier collection at Florence's Palazzo Vecchio that never fails to intrigue the visitors that come to gaze at it. This painting is the Madonna with Saint Giovannino, painted in the 15th century by Domenico Ghirlandaio. This famous painting is at the center of a debate that's been going on for decades. Ancient alien theorists believe there is clearly a UFO in the background sky. Other historical paintings also depict strange objects in the sky, and this, say alien theorists, supports the argument that aliens have been coming to our planet and interacting with humans for millennia. The Madonna with Saint Giovannino depicts the Madonna with the infant Jesus and Saint John. In the background, there's a man with his hand held up to his face as if shielding his eyes from a bright light. By his side is a dog with its mouth slightly open. Both the man and dog appear to be looking at something up in the sky. The object appears as a dark oval structure with light rays projecting out from all angles. Some people believe that the UFO in the painting is just one of the many representations of the gospel passage. Two other suggestions that alien theorists have used is that the Madonna has deliberately positioned herself so that she can shield the children in her lap, and that her halo, which looks vaporous, is possibly being diminished by the object in the sky. Other paintings from the Florentine Renaissance period depict a similar nativity scene with a shepherd and dog looking at a celestial object in the sky. The objects were most commonly angels and stars, as the annunciation or announcement across the land often accompanied the nativity scenes. However, across different time periods, God, angels, and other divine entities have often been portrayed in various ways in the form of fire, stars, or comet-like objects, clouds, or on golden chariots flying through the sky. In truth, many artists inserted symbols into their artworks, random pieces of iconography to please the pious and potential purchasers of their artworks. The object painted here by Ghirlandaio could simply be his interpretation of an angelic presence or a depiction of a brilliant star. For on the left of the painting, there's a depiction of the Nativity Star, or it may, who knows, be an ancient and now forgotten piece of Christian iconography. Number 1. The Last Supper has a song hiding in it. An Italian musician and computer technician claims to have uncovered musical notes encoded in Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, raising the possibility that the Renaissance genius might have left behind a somber composition to accompany the scene depicted in the 15th century wall painting. The painting vividly depicts a key moment in the gospel narrative, Jesus' last meal with the 12 apostles before his arrest and crucifixion, and the shock of Christ's followers as they learn that one of them is about to betray him. Giovanni Maria Palla, a 45-year-old Italian musician, began studying Leonardo's painting in 2003. In his book, Palla explains how he took elements of the painting that have symbolic value in Christian theology and interpreted them as musical clues. Palla first saw that by drawing the 5 lines of a musical staff across the painting, the loaves of bread on the table, as well as the hands of Jesus and the apostles, could each represent a musical note. He said that this fit the relation in Christian symbolism between the bread, representing the body of Christ, and the hands, which are used to bless the food. But the notes made no sense musically, until Palla realized that the score had to be read from right to left, following Leonardo's particular writing style. As the result of Palla's investigation, we have a 40-second hymn to God, which musicians described as like a soundtrack that emphasizes the passion of Jesus. Palla also stressed that his discovery doesn't reveal any supposed dark secrets of the Catholic Church or of Leonardo, but instead shows the artist in a light far removed from the conspiratorial descriptions found in fiction. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top Fivers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, The Brilliant, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so make sure you go check that out as well.